Good morning. I hope you are well. I'm excited to see you. We've gone from astronomy to assessments to grapes. That's a big jump. But I've been asked to talk with you today about strategic communications and the rumor mill. I'm going to refer to it as the grapevine. It is humming. The grapevine is humming here at the University of West Georgia. We're confirming formal messages. We're expanding formal messages. We're expediting official messages. We're contradicting official messages. And we're circumventing them. And we're also spreading rumors and gossip. I read a study the other day that said that 61% of employees in the workforce gossip at work. 61%. That would be like 915 people here at the University of West Georgia, okay? Now, there are 5 gossips I want to introduce you to. The 5 types of gossip I want to introduce you to. The first one is the spy. The spy gathers secrets about everyone. The spy listens for rumors. Always seems to know what's going on in everybody else's business. And enjoys the thrill of knowing what's going on before everybody. Then you have the grumbler, the person that complains all the time. They complain and criticize everybody. They also spread secrets, and they hide behind just venting. Think about it. Somebody come and talk to you, they lay a whole lot of stuff on you, leave it on you, and then they go, well, thanks for just letting me vent. That happens to us a lot. They're miserable, and of course, they love company. You know this song? Smile in your face? Okay. Yes, the backstabber. The backstabber is that person that's angry and malicious. They also want to get something, anything, everything they can on their enemies to use in the future. I'm reminded of a story. My father's the pastor, by the way. I'm reminded of a story that I heard my dad say at the pulpit when I was a young boy. And the story goes like this. The members of the church had just let out, and the members of the church were, standing outside, talking to family and friends and really just getting caught up with everybody. And there was a little boy running around the circle of people. And the little boy kind of focused on one woman, a member of the church. And the little boy kept going from one side, looking up at her, going to the other side, looking up at her. Then he ran over to his mom and said, Mom, Sister so-and-so doesn't have 2 faces. Then we have the chameleon. That's that person that is very, very afraid of being left out. This person shares gossip. This person is also motivated by fear and always wants to be included. So you have to be mindful of that person. And then we have number 5, the busybody. Now, the busybody is usually idle, but they meddle. They spread rumors too. They love being involved in the center of everything, and they live vicariously through everyone's business, everyone's gossip. Now, there is one motto that ties all the gossips together, and that motto is, I don't always repeat gossip, but when I do, listen carefully the first time. In all seriousness, I want to talk briefly today about communicating strategically internally. You're in that moment where you're transitioning from your strategic plan to actually, what you call it, the living year. It's going to be the next year. Yes, so it's a good time to talk about communicating strategically with your faculty and your staff. Some questions to think about. Are your budgets aligned with strategy? Are your staff incentives aligned with strategy? Does your staff and faculty know the university's mission, vision, initiatives, imperatives? Does your staff feel like they're involved in producing the activities and helping guide the direction of the department? Do they contribute? Do they ask questions? Do they know what's going on? Do they disagree with you? Or are you just giving them stuff to do that they have no idea how they're going to actually support the university's goals and missions? Does your staff know where we're going, how we're going to get there, what it's going to look like when we get there, their role in it? That's going to be really key, helping the staff understand their role in successfully implementing your strategic goals for your various divisions, colleges, and departments. Why it's important for us to get there, and last but not least, your staff wants to know what's in it for them. Whenever you talk to an employee, they always want to know, why should I listen to what you have to say? What's going to be the benefit for me to change what I'm doing? Why do I have to do this extra work now? And this is really going to make a difference. Kyle talked about culture. Yes, change is tough. Taking an organization from one point to the next is tough. And culture has a role to play in the success or failure of that change. Another study I saw recently said that 13% of the organizations that actually execute a strategic plan are actually successful. 13%, that's a very low number. Some reasons for that, in that particular study, 60% of the budgets of those organizations were not linked to strategy. The staff activities were not linked to strategy, and only 10% of the employees actually knew what the strategic plan was. Okay? So you're very important in making sure there's a connection between strategy, behavior, and results, or you end up with this. Because one of the things that I did a little person on the street activity here on campus back in March. And one of the things I did is I walked around and talked to about 20 people on campus. I didn't tell them who I was. I was just asking them basic questions. Do you know the vision of the school? Do you know the mission of the school? Do you know how your work plays into what's going on with the strategic plan? And they just kind of looked at me and said, no, no, no. Okay? Now, that's not necessarily bad, but the whole idea is that's the opportunity. Because you're going into that living year, so your opportunity is to actually connect the strategy to the behaviors so that you can get the desired results that you're looking for from your strategic plans. The key thing here is if you're not discussing the strategic plan, your role, your division's role, your college's role on a regular basis with your staff, we cannot expect that those folks that work for you will know what to do and give you the exact behaviors that you expect from your strategic initiatives that you're currently working on. So those are things you have to keep in mind. Now, here's what I want to do quickly. I want to, at your tables, I'd like for you to come up with 2 ideas, and we'll report out here in a second. I want you to come up with 2 ideas that would help your staff buy into the strategic plan that you're actually going to be communicating with them coming in the fall. Because I'd like to hear your thoughts about that, then we'll go from there. So take about 2 minutes to come up with 2 ideas at your table that will help your staff or help a staff buy into the strategic goals of the school here. Okay? I'll give you couple minutes. Okay. I'd like to call on, let's say, 5 tables to report out. We've got Mike here. Oh, you got a runner? You're running? Okay, we got Mike over here. I'd like to hear from table 5 first. I'd like to hear from you guys first.
One thing we thought about was being a better role model. Sorry. One thing we were talking about was being a better role model.
Okay.
And by that, and I was using Michael as an example. When he goes out facilities and does stuff, and people within his department see that he's really trying to do good things, maybe they buy into that.
Okay.
And they want to do good things.
Okay, leadership with action.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, good. Thank you. Table 13.
Let's see. Well, we had one similar, being a role model for the leader, and the other, of course, was to tie everything you do to the strategic plan. So that might include everything from setting the agenda for your meetings to travel, for professional conferences. All that would have to tie into the strategic plan, so everyone's thinking
Okay.
in that way.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's come over here. I can't see the table number, but this table right here. 2? Yeah, 2.
We talked about having everybody identify how what they do supports the initiatives. So starting from that point, what is it you do and how does that tie into the initiative? So sort of creating that
Very good.
consciousness.
Very good. Thank you so much. What about 23?
Okay, our first goal, our first initiative would be to get everyone involved with our plan for our unit, and that would automatically tie them into the overall strategic plan. And the second one was to tie the plan into their goals for their career.
Okay.
So show them how supporting the plan will further their career.
Okay, thank you very much. 26, be my last one.
Anyone?
Our suggestion was primarily with staff and the opportunity to get away from an office, perhaps for a meal, and be able to sit around a table where everybody is equal, as opposed to an office setting with distractions from phones and students coming in for assistance and things like that. And the director versus staff dichotomy is probably not quite as obvious.
Okay.
We decided if you feed them, they will come.
Thank you so much for those. Very, very helpful ideas. I'd like to talk with you about 5 things for you to consider, for you to think about as we look at transitioning from this year, the planning year, to the living year for next year. The question I want to ask is, how can we begin communicating strategically? Well, I'm going to start with number 5. Develop an internal communications plan. Yeah, that's different than a strategic plan. It is really, what are you going to say? How are you going to communicate? What the communication goals are going to be for communicating the strategic plan to your departments, colleges, or divisions. Now, one of the first things to think about is what communicating strategically is not, okay? Sending an email, forwarding the university strategic plan, mentioning it during an annual retreat, sending out a survey, or holding a town hall meeting after you've completed the strategic plan. Those things are good, but they don't get the buy-in that you all have been talking about here, because it's one-way communication. We talked about that the last time, okay? You press send, you send an email, or you forward the strategic plan. There's really no dialogue, there's no buy-in, there's no participation in the process. So please look at changing how you communicate your strategic plans as you go forward within your own areas. Speeches, PowerPoint presentations will only take you so far. There's got to be, I like the round table go away thing. There's got to be really a leveling out of people working together. We're all equals, and we're sharing and brainstorming ideas about how my role ties into the strategic plan, and you give me an opportunity to come up with ideas on my own. You know, you work with your staff, don't do it to your staff. Work with your staff, don't do it to your staff. Imagine a process within your unit where you actually are deciding what to start doing, what to stop doing, and what continuing to. Because when you talk about strategic planning, you're making specific decisions about what it is that you want to do going forward. And how you communicate those things will be very important. I've been in situations with some of my clients and with some of the employers that I've worked for where we'll create a strategic plan, and then the next year, people are still doing stuff that we said we're going to stop doing. Stuff that has no value to the organization. So you have to make sure you are tracking those behaviors, that you actually really have a stopping point for what you're going to be doing and accomplishing with your strategic plan. Imagine your staff and faculty being able to recite, as we tried to do today, the vision, the mission, initiatives of the university. Once you get that general knowledge, that's one thing, but next year we've got to operationalize it. We've got to go to living it, and that transition is a tough transition. We've got to make sure that we are actually understanding what it means to move from strategic planning to actually developing operational plans or action plans to actually achieve certain goals and objectives. With some of my clients and some of my former employers, this last bullet here can cause a little anxiety. Are you having staff meetings or strategy sessions on a monthly basis? Staff meetings or strategy sessions. Now, I call them job justification meetings. What do I mean by that? Well, every week, every month, everybody gets around. I did my stuff that I said I was going to do. Next week, okay, I'm going to do what I did my stuff, and then you go on and wait for your next check and you move on. There's no discussion of strategy in that. Those staff meetings are opportunities for you to actually figure out how to tie strategy into what it is that you've had to do. Okay? Yes, you can meet with your individual direct reports on their individual goals and objectives, but your staff meetings can actually be converted into strategy sessions where you're actually looking at your strategic plan and actually communicating where it is that you're trying to go with on top of everything else that you have to get done. If you're not doing that, you're missing an opportunity. If you're not doing that, you're missing an opportunity. So what would a communications plan look like? What would be some of the main components? You've heard of a SWOT analysis before, I'm sure. But when we talk about communications, you want to get a sense of how am I communicating now? How am I communicating with my staff now? Okay? Department meetings, emails, hall conversations. There's all kinds of things you may be doing now that could be components, but you need to have a good understanding of how effective those things that you're doing now can be going forward. You need to have broad goals, broad communication goals for your communications plan. What is it that you want to communicate with your staff, how often you want to communicate with your staff, and what you're expecting your staff to actually do? What behaviors, remember the last time we talked about, what behaviors are you going to be looking for from your staff through you executing your communications plan tied to your strategic plan? There may be some individual goals.